Hey everybody, it's Justin Adkins here for Scrapbooking Cards Today, and I will be sharing a duo of bold, bright, and beautiful cards using some products by Concord and Ninth. I am going to be using the Rosie Lane stamp set and die set for the bulk of this creation. I love the speech bubble that's included with the die set, and I really think that the Rosie Lane's Turnabout stamp set is going to help us out to create the perfect background. I have selected a bold selection of colors from Concord and Ninth to make this duo of cards. We are going to be using Poppy, Watermelon, Buttercup, Clover, Aqua Sky, and we'll also be using the white cardstock as well for this project. I want to talk a little bit about how we're going to use the turnabout jig to help us make perfect backgrounds for our duo of cards. For our turnabout jig, I have the Rosie Lane turnabout stamp set, and we're going to use our Misty to get it nice into place using the alignment that's included with the stamp set. Once you have everything lined up with the center of the stamp on the alignment, you're then able to put the turnabout jig on top of it just to ensure that the center of your jig is going to align up with the center of your alignment sheet. Once everything is nicely into place, you're going to be able to pick up the stamp off of the turnabout jig and begin the process of getting your papers into place. I remove the alignment sheet from the photopolymer turnabout jig, and I get an A2 size panel of Buttercup cardstock all lined up with the turnabout jig that's already inside of my Misty. I press it down, and then I'm going to ink up my stamp with some sunflower ink. The sunflower ink is a little darker than the Buttercup cardstock that we're using, and that was intentional because I want this stamp coloring to really stand out on top of the paper, but also for it to blend in nicely at the same time. So I'm going to do my first impression. Once I'm satisfied with that, I'm going to remove my magnets and I'm going to turn my jig 90 degrees. I'm going to put it back into place, and then we are going to just continue the process of inking and pressing down our stamp and then rotating another 90 degrees. And then we are going to do it one last time after this. So we've got a nice inking of our stamp. And here is your final project showing what it looks like when you rotate that stamp 90 degrees. I do have a little bit of an open area, but we're going to cover that up later. After cleaning off my stamp, I'm going to take an A2 size piece of the Aqua Sky cardstock and put it into place on my turnabout jig. Once I'm satisfied with where my paper is lined up, we're going to use some Oceanside ink and ink up that Rosie Lane turnabout stamp so that we're going to be able to ink up our paper. Like we did with the last set of colors, I did use a color ink that's slightly darker but in the same color family just to ensure it shows up nicely on the paper, and here you see what the final result looks like, stamping the Oceanside ink on top of the Aqua Sky paper. We've got our side-by-sides of the two colors, and I thought it would be cool if we went and did a little bit of paper splattering to add some added interest. I am using some liquid gold paper splatter by Picket Fence Studios on top of the Buttercup panel, and I really like how these gold accents are going to add some fun shine and shimmer to our project, which just makes it extra special. For our Aqua Sky background, I'm using liquid turquoise blue paper splatter watercolor by Picket Fence Studios to add some extra coordinating shimmer and shine to this panel. Once your two panels are fully dry, go ahead and set them aside so we can move on to the next process of our card creation. Let's talk a little bit about die cutting for this project, and the truth is I'm going to be die cutting everything that is included in the Rosie Lane die set multiple times, and we're going to be using the palette of colors that we chose early on in this card for all of the images. Now, I did go ahead and die cut everything off camera and assembled, so I'm just going to show you how everything's going to look all nicely and organized together for our card process. I am going to take one of the white speech bubbles and I'm going to begin the process of distressing the edges with that same sunflower ink that we used with our turnabout jig earlier in this card process. So I'm just making it so that the paper is nice and distressed on the edges, and because we're making two cards, I am going to carry out this coordinating theme and take my second white speech bubble and distress the edges with the Oceanside ink. I think that this is going to be a really nice way to tie in all the different colors that we're making with our cards and give a nice finished edge to this project. I love how it looks. I think that it just adds a really fun element, lightly going in with that ink. And we're also going to use these speech bubbles to add our sentiments as well. Using the sunflower blended speech bubble, I am going to take the negative of the die cut of friend and use a low tack tape to put it nicely into place. Then, once I'm happy with where it's held into position, I am going to put some liquid adhesive into each of the negatives of the die cut, and this is going to really allow me to get my sentiment nicely lined up. I love that Concord Ninth already spaces out each of these letters for us. There's not any guessing put into play as to how close or far away I'm supposed to put each of the letters, and I really think that saving your negatives for your word and letter die cuts is a great way to ensure that everything is going to line up properly. I'm going to put each of the letters into their respective wells from the negative, and then I'm very carefully going to remove the negative, and you'll see the word friend all perfectly lined up. So save those negatives. They're definitely going to help you before you go ahead and recycle them. I adhere my hello die cut above the word friend, and after I get that die nicely into place, I take a die cut of the speech bubble that I prepared in Buttercup cardstock, and I adhere the top layer slightly offset so that the Buttercup speech bubble is peeking underneath ever so slightly. Now that my speech bubble is ready to go for embellishments, you're going to start seeing me add all the different die cut shapes that I've prepared from the Rosie Lane die set. So you're going to see all the different colors begin to come into place. You're going to see some clover leaves. You're going to see some aqua sky hearts. You're going to see some flowers that are in watermelon and in poppy. And then you're going to start to see mix and matching of other colors and shapes as well. Now, I definitely think that the use of craft tweezers is going to be incredibly important to sort of maneuver all of these little die cuts around your card and ensure that you're getting them nice and properly into place. Once satisfied with where all your little die cuts go, I do recommend using some foam tape on the back of your unit. This is 3mm foam tape by scrapbook.com, and this is going to just allow some really nice dimension as you put the speech bubble unit on top of your card panel. I am putting this on the aqua sky panel that we had prepared earlier in this tutorial, and I'm so loving how all of these colors are coordinating. I adhere my panel to an A2 size card base, and once this portion is completed, I can now move on to the second card in our bold, bright, and beautiful set. I am arranging my love and use sentiments onto my Oceanside blended speech bubble, and I'm also arranging all of these different little die cuts around the love you sentiment as well. This speech bubble unit is not identical to the first one that I made, but you can definitely tell that they're both kind of inspired by one another. We've got the same elements going on, same colors, but a nice little different layout, so you can tell that they're definitely going to work together in a coordinating set. Once I have my sentiment nicely in place on my Buttercup background, I'm going to pull in some extra die cut units that I have from the Rosie Lane die set. And I am just going to use these to further embellish each of my cards, pulling in some of those die cut images off of the speech bubble onto other areas of the card. I'm not going to use foam tape, I'm just going to use liquid adhesive and adhere them directly to my backgrounds. I do end up pulling in some flowers, some leaves, some little hearts, just to sort of continue all of those shapes that we're going to find on our speech bubbles throughout our card as well. Now, I do decide to pull in some gold sparkle spots by Trinity Stamps for our Buttercup background card, as I thought the gold would work really nicely with the gold paper splatter and the colors that we used for our background. Now, with the Buttercup card all situated, I'm going to repeat the process with our Hello Friend card, putting some of the little die cut shapes as embellishments directly onto the background panel and really sort of lay out the different shapes that we'll be using. Keeping in mind, I want these to be a coordinating set, but not necessarily identical to one another. For this card, we are going to use some silver sparkle spots by Trinity Stamps, and I think that works really nicely with the aqua sky background, and I have all of my embellishments nicely into place. So here you'll see how the coordinating set of cards look together, and I hope that this inspires you to go out and create your very own duo of bold, bright, and beautiful projects. Thank you so very much for stopping by to watch today's card tutorial. I hope this bold, bright, and beautiful duo of projects leaves you with some inspiration for how you can create your very own set of coordinating cards. Thank you so very much once again and have a great day. Goodbye.